creates curiosity, but it puts them in the energy of the thing that they want to solve. And that's the energy that people make a buying decision from. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 428. And today, eavesdrop in with me on a live coaching session I did to discover a sales system accelerator. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and ripple makers. It's Melanie Benson, your host. And today I'm bringing back one of my all-time favorite segments, On Air Coaching. I am so excited to bring these back to the show. I did them early on, and I actually don't know what happened. I got so many people wanting to be a guest on the show that we did a lot of guests for a while, and now I'm bringing back this really popular and valuable segment. This is where I do live hot seats, all about visibility and monetizing your superpowers. And if you want to apply for an on-air coaching session and get my 24 plus years of experience on your business, we could do a messaging audit. We can brainstorm your monetization strategy. We can uncover your fastest path to standing out in a crowded market so you're attracting those premium clients ready to say yes. I'll drop the link in the show notes. We're going to keep it open for a little bit. We will close it from time to time when we have too many people in the queue, but I want to do these for as many people as I can. So apply right away. Don't wait if you're interested. There is no fee to do this, but we do have an application to make sure it's a real win-win for you and the listeners. Now, I also want to share another resource with you before we get going, and this is for anyone who's struggling to monetize and see results from being a guest expert. And if you have not yet downloaded my 17 mistakes that guest experts make scorecard, you're going to want to do this right now, because I'm hearing more and more from people, oh my gosh, I'm not getting chosen. We're pitching. We're not getting any results. I'm not seeing an ROI from being visible. And oftentimes there's a couple simple mistakes you're making that can make a big difference. So go download it right now. It's totally free. Review it, audit yourself. And hey, if you're applying for the show, you can bring that with you and say, Melanie, I want to work on this segment right here. So head over to melaniebenson.com/scorecard. I'll also link that up in the show notes. Okay, let's get started. Welcome back, amplifiers. I'm thrilled today to introduce you to an amazing human who is sitting in the hot seat today for our special edition On Air Coaching. We're doing some limited visibility monetization hot seats right here on Amplify Your Success Podcast. And let me just set this up. If you're new to experiencing these, there is a triple win here. One, obviously, big clarity for the person in the hot seat. But as you're listening in, this is an opportunity for you to get coached via our friend here in the hot seat, and you want to listen for the breakthroughs, the ahas, the shifts that get revealed by me coaching our guest today. And of course, there's a win for me because you get to experience me as your coach through Erin. So Erin, welcome to this special edition of Amplify Your Success.
Hi, Melanie. Thank you so much for having me on air. It's truly a privilege to be a guest on your show.
Thank you. Well, we've had a little history, so sometimes my guests here, we don't know each other as well, but I've had the privilege of working with Erin in my Authority Accelerator program. She's now continuing the work in Visibility Accelerator Club, so I've got a little bit familiar with her business and her work in the world. But Erin, could you just in one sentence introduce your business and the amazing expertise that you're bringing to the airwaves?
Yes. Well, Melanie, because of your coaching, I really felt like you were going to be the one to help me get unstuck. I am a therapist by trade, and I found myself feeling stuck and limited to just the licensure requirements and only serving the people in my state. And because of your coaching and your programs, I've found that there's a lot more opportunity and possibilities. And that just was very encouraging to me. So now I have expanded my talents into building a new business, and it's all about relationship coaching because OCD is my primary focus with my work with clients. So anyway, I'm shifting into the relationship coaching to help women build the love life that they deserve and the love that they crave.
Yeah, I love it. And I got to tell you, friends, if this is speaking to you at all, you definitely got to go find Erin on social media. Her messaging is brilliant. She does such a fantastic job of taking her lighthouse message and bringing it to the world. But that's not what we're focusing on today. So
Right.
let's talk about what's the goal from today's hot seat. And I like to think of it like we future pace out 6 months from now. Pretend you and I are having a check-in and we're celebrating an outcome that emerged from today because we set this goal. What is the goal that you'd like to accomplish?
Right. Well, I would love to have like a high conversion rate for my sales calls.
Mm,
So in this new business, I totally recognize that, leads will come in as I'm generating more visibility, which I am just doing the podcast guests and all the social media and the YouTube content, as well as the email newsletter. So got a lot of moving parts, but I would love to just have that full confidence that when I'm on a sales call, like
mm,
it goes with ease and the person is ready, willing, and excited to work with me.
I love it. So let's set a couple of pieces of clarity. First of all, you, in addition to being a podcast guest and doing all this amazing social media content, you also host your own podcast. What's the name of your
Yes.
podcast?
Bossing up, overcoming OCD.
Okay, good. And here's what I think we should start with. Well, first of all, what do you think is in the way of having that higher conversion? Is there a problem or a challenge or something that you see emerging?
With like my therapy work, I'm so used to people just jumping on a free 15-minute call. Like they land on my website, they book a call. That's what they do.
Hmm.
So with the coaching, I'm learning that they need more touch points. So
Hmm.
some of it is just that funnel, stuff. And I'm learning about the funnel, the top of awareness, and then getting them to being a paying client. So, I'm also trying to get them to download my lead magnet. So I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of confusion about my own like onboarding process. So then once they get
Okay.
into sales call or the discovery call, is it like, am I then asking them to pay or am I asking them to apply? Like there's just
Yeah.
so many moving parts, but I feel like that face to face time of like once I'm actually on the call with a potential client, that's going to be the most important. Like I
Hmm.
need to feel confident and comfortable because I need to portray that energy. And I do believe in my offer and my product. It's just all these steps
Yeah.
to get them to
I
that place.
Yes, I love this, Erin. And it's interesting. I've been doing this so long, I forget sometimes what it's like when you're first starting to do enrollments like this. It's like it is a new paradigm. So, so let's create
Yes.
the paradigm where this is really successful for you. Okay, paint me a picture. Tell me where these potential clients might be coming from when they've landed on a sales call with you. Did they hear you on a podcast? And just did they have an opportunity to book right away, or have they gone through some kind of a nurture sequence first?
Great question. So, I'm getting a lot of opt ins from my YouTube at the moment.
Okay.
So, a lot of my YouTube shorts are getting visibility, and I'll do some funny, entertaining things of around relationship OCD of people being uncertain if they found the one, for
Mhm.
example. So, once they see my video, I normally put a link in the comments for a lead magnet.
Okay.
Because I feel like telling them to jump straight to a call,
Yeah.
I've missed capturing their email
Hmm.
and I've missed that opportunity to give more touch points. So
Okay, good.
I'm learning to be more patient in warming them up. So
Okay.
that I feel like that's a learned skill.
Yeah. Well, you've used this word a couple of times, and I think for the sake of our listeners today, it's really important to recognize the importance of patience in the nurturing process, and here's why. I really have seen that, I talk a lot about people getting on an enrollment call and they're already ready to say yes, but there's a reason why. And it's
Mm,
what happens before they ever get on the call with you that oftentimes reinforces why you are the one they want to work with. And then it's just, figuring out some details. But, we call them cold versus warm leads. Like somebody who's a
mhm.
cold lead, they don't know anything about you, but you've offered something that's kind of appealing. And so they jump right in, but there's no context, there's no relationship, they don't really know much about you. So, what happens between the time they first meet you and then they get on that sales call with you has a lot of value to building the relationship, building the rapport, building that know, like, and trust factor, and increasing those chances of them getting to a yes. Now, part of that is our job of having our message really speak to our ideal client, which you definitely have that nailed down. The second thing I think that's really important to kind of look at here is how they get to the sales call. So they've gone through a lead magnet, they've
Yes.
gotten a few emails, they've learned something about themselves. Is it normally your quiz or something else that they've opted into?
They are normally opting into my 10 tips for relationship OCD.
Okay, that's good to know. How to spot relationship OCD, is that what it is?
No, I used to phrase it as 10 signs, and
Mm,
then recently I changed it to 10 tips, and I
hmm
added an extra page in there
hmm
with the tips. So it's
hmm
essentially the same. I've just adjusted it to allow the potential client to see that there is possibility. And I think people are looking for quick tips. Like I feel like
hmm
there's a lot of that instant gratification. So that's what's
I like it.
working and converting right now. Now the
Okay.
quiz was my original thing, but I'm finding that tips is what's winning.
Okay, that's good to know. Sometimes that's just the test, right? Okay,
Yes.
so they've gotten a tip. How many emails do they get between the time they download it and the time they get an opportunity to book a call with you?
Well, at first, because of all these moving parts, I think I've only got one. But my
Okay.
goal is, well, here's the thing. So they'll get an initial email
hmm
with the information, and then they will get on into my welcome sequence and then my general email newsletter that goes out once a week. But
Okay.
ideally, I'd like to have maybe a series of 5 emails
I like
around.
that idea. And here's one of the emails that I think would be really good is um, meet Erin. Right? It's like, hey, you've
Yes.
downloaded these tips. You've been, curious about do you have relationship OCD? Maybe you want to learn a little bit more, or let me help you get to know the person behind this advice. And you can tell them a little bit about you, your experience, and why you have been teaching these relationship OCD signs or these things to get to awareness of. And then what I would do is even like make some fun things up. It's like, like what's a quirky hobby you have or something that
Okay.
uniquely I mean, like I always tell people like I think I'm a closet paleo chef, or I'm like a wannabe paleo chef. And people are like, oh my God, I didn't know you cooked, right? It's just like these weird little bonding moments when we make ourselves more relatable, more accessible, not just as an expert, but as a human being. Now, in your
Yes.
case, I don't know that I would get too much into, I'm a mom, I have 2 kids. You could if you feel comfortable with that. But sometimes, like sharing stuff about our kids when we deal with relationship stuff, like you want to also protect your family. So I don't know, you have to
Yes.
decide if that feels aligned for you. But if you're a coffee fanatic or like some
Oh, yes.
people are wine snobs, right? And so like I also talk about like I'm a coffee snob, but I only drink espresso. As a matter of fact, I only drink Nespresso, right? So like I have fun with the things that make me unique and give somebody something to lean on and go, oh, I really like that about her. And she's kind of funny. And
Mhm.
you have a good sense of humor. So that's a
Well,
good thing
thank
to
you.
lean into.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that advice because I think and you're right, like I'm trying to build relatability. And
hmm
a lot of my clients that I want to serve are the career ambitious women. And
Yep.
so they're not always in a committed relationship. They're not always a mother. So I
hmm
want to bring those details that help relate to them and where they are. so that
Okay,
we
good.
can feel better connected. So I think that's a good tip. I need to think about where they are and what my personal unique qualities are that they would identify with.
Yeah, or if you have like a fun TV show that is kind of like something that a lot of people like, or
Hmm.
that you're like, this is the silliest show that I'm obsessed with, but maybe you'll
Oh,
relate. That something like that could be really
I'll
fun
tell
to
you,
add in
my
there.
favorite hobby in the world is escape rooms. I
That's
love,
perfect.
yes, I love escape rooms. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I love
Everywhere
this.
I go, I have to do an escape room. Like that's what I'm doing
Okay.
for Valentine's Day. I just
Oh my God,
love
I
them.
love this. Okay, this
Yes.
is perfect. And now that I know this, you know we're going to be weaving this into your stories.
Oh, awesome. I
This is
love
a
it.
good one. I love this. Okay, so that's perfect. A couple other emails that I would do is I would unpack one or two kind of client case studies, so to speak, of
Yes.
somebody who identified that OCD quality, that obsessiveness, and what happened when they addressed it, and any success stories, things like that. Like kind
Yes.
of help people start to realize there's more to this than just tips. It's like there's something real, and then they can identify with that person's journey. So I would unpack at least one, two if you have them. Okay,
Yes.
so they've gone through this they've got the lead magnet, the freebie, the email sequence has kind of bonded them with you, unpacked a few more insights. And now they've had an opportunity and you're to say, I think I want to do something about this. I'm seeing that I might have some OCD qualities. I want to improve my relationship. I want to work on my own anxieties. I want to pursue Erin as a coach for me. So I
Yes.
think the opportunity is to make that invitation, not just once, but a few different times, right?
Okay.
So I would say, make it a PS in one of like either the third or fourth email. The fourth email, make it a big part of it. And the fifth email, make it the main thing that you do. It's like you invite them to solve the problem with you. And the first step is to apply. So that's a question I have. Do you imagine that they will be applying for your program or just booking a consultation call with you and finding out about the program?
Well, I feel like a conversation is going to convert better
Okay.
because I or I don't know, maybe it'll be another test to see what's going to be the easiest lift for the person because I do want them to feel like it's easy to work with me and I'm not trying to create all these barriers or anything. And so,
Okay. Then what I would do is I would have when they book the call with you, you're using a
okay.
calendaring tool, right? That you can
Yes.
attach some questions.
Yes.
So then you're applying for this breakthrough session, right? Because it's not a consultation. It's a breakthrough session. It's a
I
um,
think one time we called it a relationship clarity call.
There you go. Perfect. So you're
Okay.
booking the relationship clarity call. And in order to get the most out of our time together, I want to ask you three questions so that I can prepare for our call,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And I would ask them three things that you need to know to really make sure A, they're a good fit, and B, that they're going to get. So I would ask them, like, what is their relationship goals?
Yes.
What feels like it's in the way? Like, where is the obsession or the anxiety that's coming up for them?
Yes.
Is there something else that you really need to know to make sure that they're a good fit for your work or that would help you with the call itself?
Hmm. Well, I would like to know if they're interested in the group coaching or a private one-to-one. Like
Yeah,
just to
good.
I think that would help me kind of set expectations for when I walk in to the
Hmm.
call. Like if they would be more interested in the community or just one-to-one.
Perfect. So I would ask a question like, if we were to work together, would you be more interested in one-to-one support or a group program? And you would want to frame that a little bit, right? And,
Hmm.
that has community and a support system in it.
Yes.
And then I would ask a fourth question.
Oh, okay.
What is your timeline in wanting to solve this problem or wanting to have this support in your life? That's the way I would frame it.
Oh, yeah.
Because what I found is sometimes people are looking for coaches for 6 months to a year from now. And as much as we want to help all the people, if you're starting to get time crunched, and you will, you probably aren't going to prioritize the people that are way out there in the future sometime, right? So you want to kind of imply that you're looking for people that are interested in starting to work now.
Okay.
So maybe something like I'm looking for somebody down the road, I'm looking for something in the next couple weeks, or I want to start today kind of thing.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So gauging when they're ready to start on
Yes.
this transformation.
And part of what you're doing is you're kind of creating a framework already for them to become aware. You do need to move forward sooner rather than later, if you want to solve this problem. And so you're kind of embedding that or integrating that as an awareness from the moment that they book the
Yes.
consultation.
Yes. Okay. I like
Okay.
all of these calendar questions because it's also getting them prepared and set up
hmm
for what my programs are about. And my group coaching program is called Obsess Less, Love More.
Perfect.
So they can
So
see
this
it
is a good
clearly.
tie-in. Yes, good tie-in. Okay, so now once they do the booking, you have a really unique opportunity to bond with them even more before
Yes.
they get on the enrollment call with you, right?
Okay. Good
Okay,
point.
so I usually make it so that somebody has at least 24 to 48 hours to before they can get on a. Typically, it's 48 hours unless I'm running a campaign where it's like they need to decide like right now. So they've got at least 48 hours. I like to have it 3 to 5 days. That's ideal, but you can structure that how you want. But what I like to do is once they've booked, give them a homework assignment.
Okay.
Something of, okay, so to get prepared for our time together, I want you to, what are the signs that you're obsessing or that you're doubting the relationship in, right?
Mm,
Make a list of all the ways in which you suspect your doubts and fears are becoming a problem, right? Something that starts to get them thinking about your specialty, right? What they want to solve. Because the
okay.
more they're exploring that and thinking of that and keeping that top of mind, the more they're going to be likely to keep the sales call. And secondly, the more invested they are in finding a solution with you on the call.
Oh, I love it because it creates curiosity.
Creates curiosity, but it puts them in the energy of the thing that they want to solve.
Yes.
And that's the energy that people make a buying decision from. Okay. And we're
Okay.
not manipulating them in any way. This is simply like what is in the way. Make a list of the things. You could do it a few different ways. You could say make a list of the things that are a problem for you, or I want you to write a ideal vision statement for your ideal relationship. Whatever feels right to you. Just give them one very
Okay.
simple assignment before they meet with you,
Yes.
and tell
And
them to bring that to the call.
I just launched my relationship confidence course, and I'm sure there's a question in there that I can pull from
Yep.
to help kind of frame and set up this clarity call.
Love it. Okay, second thing is you want to do something, and different people call this different things. Like I've heard it called the Netflixing effect, but you want to give them a way to start getting familiar with your authority, your expertise, and your credentials, your
Okay.
abilities. And so as you're listening in today, this could look different for you than what I talked to Erin about, but if you've been featured on a podcast that you feel like really showcases you well, or
Hmm.
if there's an episode of your podcast that they must listen to, of you, not a guest, but of you, then you
Yes.
might want to have them listen to that. So now, before we meet, there is an episode that will get you very familiar with my work, with what I specialize in, and I really recommend. It's only 15 minutes long. Plug it in. Get yourself ready to have our conversation by listening to this episode before we meet. Okay, so
Awesome.
give them something that builds more rapport. So that's the second thing. Now, here's a tip, and we've talked about this before, but I think if you have a very specific program that you are enrolling for, and there is some ins and outs of the program, like it starts and stops at a certain time, or it's a bigger investment. A third thing you can do is you could say, I want to get you familiar with my coaching options before we get together, so
Okay.
that you might bring any questions you have about working together to our call. And this is where you can create that video where you literally do a video overview of your program and you say what it is, what it does, how it functions, what the pricing is, all of that. And I like on that page to also have a buy button. And I have literally had people who cancel their call and just enroll right there. They're like, I'm in. I don't even need to meet with you anymore. We're good.
Wow. That's
So,
incredible.
well, what you're doing is you're basically educating them and giving them the questions that they're going to take 20 or 30 minutes asking on a sales call. But
Hmm.
you're letting them do. Now, here's the truth about that is if somebody's never going to pay for your program and it's way out of their range or it's a scary investment, you might lose them there. And that might happen. So it's just an important thing to recognize. Do I want to have more people come to me and have the conversation, or would I rather get them aware what the investment is and not have to have these awkward sales conversations with people that can't afford it anyway? So
Right.
it's something to think about.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so three key things: homework, um, getting familiar with your work and who you are as a service provider or as an expert. And then third, if you want, give them a video of you kind of talking through your coaching options or your primary signature program and what's involved in that so they can decide and have that information with the intention, bring your questions about the program to our call.
Yes. And this is all getting conveyed to them over email.
Yep. Hey,
Okay.
one last thing before we meet. I've put together an overview of the program that most of my clients start with, and I wanted to give you the ins and outs, let you get familiar with it in case you have some questions that come up that you want to talk through on our call together.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Now, I know your original question was how do I even structure this call? So, there's a few key things. Tell
Okay.
me what your normal like organic process would be. Like how would you move somebody through the sales conversation?
Overall, I'm asking what are your end goals?
Hmm.
And if, what do you hope to accomplish? And normally I would say through therapy, but I would now say through coaching. So,
Hmm.
kind of getting an assessment of what their goals are, because then I want to ensure that we're aligned and that I can, in fact, provide the result that they're looking for. So, some of that is just kind of an alignment check. And then from there, I will ask what they've tried before just to
Hmm.
gauge again what's working or not working. And yeah, sometimes I'll even ask the question like, for those that support you, what would they say therapy
Hmm.
could help you with?
Hmm.
Because they're like,
Or
oh gosh, my mom would say that I need help with this or, whatever. Um,
I
but
like that. That's
anyway,
a good one.
yeah, so then from there, then the question is, how do you plan to pay for therapy? But in this case, how
Mm.
do you plan to pay for coaching? But I would also think that, you know, how would you like to move forward? Would you like to move forward with one to one? Well, I also let them know. I need to say that part too. Like, I let them know, hey, I think we would be a good fit.
Hmm.
These are the types of
Mm.
services and
Okay.
techniques that I offer. But
I
yeah,
like it. Okay. So there's a couple little tiny adjustments I would make. And I think you
okay,
got a lot of great structure there. One of the things I learned really early on that's been super helpful is always start by setting the container. And you may remember this when we first met,
yes,
is I set a container. What's your intention? What do you want to get out of our time together? And I just want to remind you that this time's going to go really fast. So I may cut some of your stories short. I'm going to ask you really poignant questions because we got to get through a lot in a short period of time. So, and I'm reminding them how much time we have in setting the container. But the big one is, what do you want to get out of our time together today? What I want
okay,
to know is, well, I'm obviously exploring you as my coach. I need to know how that works. Or I might hear, well, I just want some feedback on my message. How they answer that question tells me what state of mind they're in.
Hmm.
And is this really them just want some free coaching and they're hoping they're going to get, which they don't really get out of a call like that with me?
Yes.
Or are they really ready to do something with me and we need to make sure we save time for that? So then if
Okay.
they're starting with something like, well, I want to just get feedback on my messaging, I will then say, well, okay, good. So here's my intention today. I know you're here in part because you're interested in coaching or you're interested in my Authority Accelerator program, whatever the thing is.
Hmm.
And I will definitely make sure we leave some time for that. Let's set some um, achievable expectations for our time. So if they've like set this pie in the sky, like that's a heavy lift. We're not getting there in the amount of time we have. I'll just say, look, here's what I think is reasonable for us to get through today. And how about we identify what's in the way between what you're
Okay.
where you're at and where you're at. So setting expectations, setting the container, good with the goal, great with what's in the way. And then here's the next piece that I think is so important and so many people miss.
Okay.
We have to check in with what is the cost of them keeping this problem, this stuckness, this
Yes.
challenge in their life? What is
Hmm.
that costing them emotionally, energetically, sometimes financially, right?
Okay.
So by
Yes.
asking them something like, so you've shared with me, and let's just pretend like this is your client. It's like, so wow, you shared with me that you're dealing with a lot of, sorry, technical foul. You shared with me so many of the challenges that you're having with, meeting people and staying in a relationship because the anxiety takes over.
Yes.
I can't imagine how challenging that must feel for you and how many, is that causing you sleepless nights? Like, is it hurting
Yes.
your ability to keep the relationship in place? Tell me more about what's that looking like as that problem continues for you.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
so
many
you might even,
career women definitely have
yeah,
restless nights.
right, like your restless nights, like you're finding that your motivation is low and you get to work, you're distracted. Like what is the cost of that problem for you right now? Now, once they've identified that, again, you just want to reinforce like, wow, I get it and I'm so glad you're here and I see a path towards having more love and less anxiety. Would it be worth us exploring what that solution and what that support might look like for you so that you get to the goal in relationship and say what their goal was
Right.
and no longer allow these doubts and fears to plague you? Would that be valuable for you today?
Oh, that's awesome. I love
Okay, so
that.
then you can talk, you've got permission to talk about your opportunity for them rather than it's kind of getting kind of pushed on them. And if they're like, I don't know that this is what I want, great. Okay, good. We can close here then. And if you change your mind, you know where I'm at, right? Because
Hmm.
we don't want to be selling.
Okay.
Nobody
Exactly.
wants to be sold to. I don't know any experts that like to sell anybody on anything. We want to avoid all of that emotional manipulation, the contortions, all of that is very old paradigm. It doesn't feel good for
Yes.
anybody. And what we want is to make an invitation that feels seamless and effortless. So then the conversation might go, okay, absolutely, but I'm kind of broke. And then it's a conversation about money. And money is where the third component of a sales call, or how you handle their fear about doing the work or whatever objections come up, right? Which
Okay.
could maybe be a part two that we get into another day.
Yes.
But that's really, I think the thing is to when we hold such a tender, heart-filled space for somebody who's exploring, especially things that are more on the emotional and um, the side of things that are so important to us, like money and relationships. We want to make it safe for them to decide, but also hold them accountable to what they say they want.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that's the coach in you, right? It's like they're like, well, I don't know. I don't know that this is really the right time. Then you can come back and say, look, is it okay if I have permission to start being a really good coach for you to get the love that you really want today?
Wow. I love all these words and phrases. It's just such a natural transition to help encourage them
Yeah.
to pursue the solution.
Thank you. So it is a muscle that we build. It's a
Okay.
system, this is the thing that we learn how to do effortlessly. Now I can do it in my sleep, but it was very intentional writing out a script and really kind of sticking to my
Okay.
talking points and just knowing that when I come from my heart, it can't go wrong. But I do want to remember my role as the coach is to hold the structure for what they say they want,
Okay.
even when
Awesome.
they're squirmy,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Okay. Well, I
Okay,
love
good.
this. I have
Okay,
so many
good.
notes. Thank
I can't
you.
wait to hear what you do with it. So, if we could put a bow on this today and like, what is your action commitment out of this hot seat coaching? What will you commit to doing with it?
I am going to create a script and practice it and use a lot of this language that you shared today to help with that transition of highlighting what they want. So I'm also like not selling them into it because I,
Hmm.
I do truly want them to want the solution as
Yeah,
well. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's my action item. I'm going to
Okay,
create a
cool.
script. Hmm.
Script it is. All right. And if we could just wave the magic fairy wand and claim this goal that feels maybe a little scary big, but you're like, as I'm getting better and better at holding these enrollment conversations and I'm moving more and more people through my lead process, 6 months from now, I have enrolled how many people in my new program?
Ooh, in 6 months, I would love to have 10 ladies in my Obsess Less, Love More program. And if there's a bonus one-to-one coaching client, I think that would be amazing too.
Boom. Okay. And so it is. We've put that out into the ethers of the world. And let's just bring this home by you sharing with our listening audience. How can somebody find out about you or refer their friend who they love so much, but they know are obsessing and anxious instead of relaxing into the love they want?
Okay. Well, my website is livebeyonddoubt.com, and I'm also on all the socials. You can find me on LinkedIn at Erin Davis, and it's Erin. Instagram, Facebook, it's Erin Davis Coaching, and on YouTube at Erin Davis YouTube.
And soon to be threads, right?
Yes, I'm already on Threads. Yes, the Erin
Okay,
Davis
good.
Coaching.
Good. Guys, this has been so amazing to hold space for Erin to step into her brilliance as a coach, making this transition
Yes.
from therapy into being an extraordinary coach who's supporting women in being less stressed and overwhelmed about their relationships and more in the love. Thank you, Erin, for being in the hot seat today. And as you're listening in, make sure that you go connect with Erin, give her some love, listen to her podcast, Bossing Up. And again, if you know somebody who could use Erin's amazing resources and support system, send her or send them to her. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.